Have you ever felt dismissed or judged by a healthcare provider simply because of your weight? Well, you're not alone. Obesity bias is hidden but powerful in healthcare, often leading to subpar treatment and missed opportunities for better health. In this video, we're exposing the shocking realities of how obesity bias affects medical care and what you can do to advocate for the treatment you deserve, and honestly, what you can do to get the medications that you need. Welcome back to The Downsized. I'm Christopher Durham.
And I'm Laraine Durham, and today we're diving into a topic that really hits home for so many of us: obesity bias in healthcare and how it impacts treatment decisions. This is a big deal, especially with all the buzz around medications. So if you've been on your own weight loss journey and felt dismissed or unheard by healthcare providers, stick around because we've got a lot to unpack.
Before we dive in, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to The Downsized, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. And just a quick note, we're not doctors. We're sharing our personal experiences and some research we found interesting, but always consult with your healthcare provider before making any changes to your healthcare regimen.
So let's start by sharing a bit about our own journey. We started our compounded tirzepatide journey September 2023. Christopher has lost 77 pounds and I've lost 50 pounds. So together we've lost over 120 pounds using GLP-1 medications, and it's been a game changer for us, not just physically, but also in how we feel and how we approach everyday challenges.
But as much as these medications have helped us, there's a bigger issue at play here: obesity bias in healthcare. It's something we've experienced firsthand and something that's backed by research. Laraine and I have both had moments where our concerns were brushed off or blamed solely on our weight. It's frustrating, and it's not just our experience. This is a widespread issue.
According to a systematic review published recently, obesity bias can interfere with clinical decision-making. The research found that patients with obesity often receive fewer screening exams, less frequent intensification of treatments like those for diabetes, and even less physician confidence in their treatment adherence. In some cases, doctors avoid eye contact or dismiss their concerns altogether.
And this bias doesn't just stop at screenings, it impacts treatment outcomes. A study in the International Journal of Obesity found that people with obesity were more than twice as likely to receive inadequate treatment for hypertension compared to those without obesity. It's what researchers are calling therapeutic inertia, but really it's just neglect.
It's a clear pattern of discrimination that's rooted in implicit biases. No one sets out with the intent to harm people based on their size, but these biases are there and they impact care. And it's a missed opportunity. With the rise of effective treatments like GLP-1s, healthcare providers should be embracing these tools to improve the health of people living with obesity.
The reluctance to deliver obesity care at scale, especially when we have options like GLP-1s that are proven to help, is part of this broader issue. It's time for healthcare providers to recognize and address these biases because the potential for better health outcomes is too great to ignore. So, questions about all of this, right? Why do you think obesity bias is still so prevalent in healthcare, even with increasing awareness about the issue?
I've had doctors that have told me about my weight and told me things they want me to do about it. And I've had doctors who have ignored the issue completely. If I brought it up, they would respond, but a lot of times they won't even bring it up unless you ask questions. I remember when I was a teenager and I went to the doctor, and the doctor I saw was actually morbidly obese himself, and he's telling, 14-year-old me that I needed to lose 20 pounds, I needed to get my waist down smaller, I needed to do some twisting exercises, and that would really help.
But so what? So what do you think keeps the bias alive, though?
I think there's just a bias against fat people in general. I think people look at overweight people and think they're dumb, they're lazy, they are gluttonous. I mean, I think all those things are running through, especially a doctor's mind.
So it's those long-standing misconceptions about obesity that are kind of just driving it all forward.
Yeah.
Right? It's a matter of willpower, personal failure.
Yeah, I mean, I remember most recently I had a female physician that I was seeing every 6 months for a different issue, and I would ask her, I'm trying to lose 50 pounds. Can you prescribe me something? Is there any medical advances? This was really only about 5 years ago. And she's like, well, you should just really try diet and exercise. And I said, well, I've been going to Weight Watchers for a long time. I just started back again for the 100th time or whatever. She goes, well, why don't you try that? And when you see me back in 6 months, let me know how it goes.
So, I mean, it looks like to me they don't understand that obesity is a complex and chronic disease, right?
No. And I went back to her in 6 months and I said, look, and she didn't even bring it up. And I said, oh, can I have some weight loss medication now, please? I said, I've lost 30 pounds, diet and exercising. What can you do now to help me? Oh, well, you're doing great. Just keep going.
Do you think the doctors are trained on this? Do you think they actually have the education and the knowledge to adequately care for the obese?
Well, short answer is no. I mean, these medications are so new. Some doctors are very open to learning about them and to prescribing them for their patients. And some doctors are just like, nah, we're not doing that.
I mean, it just feels like to me these are so ingrained in our culture, these biases, there's no way to escape them. Even if it's unconsciously, they're there. And it makes me wonder, how do you think this bias directly impacts patients' willingness to seek help? Could it be causing more harm by discouraging people from pursuing treatment?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're dramatically overweight, a lot of times you just don't want to talk about it. You're certainly not going to bring it up with the doctor if they don't bring it up. You know what I mean? Like, and people could be getting help and getting treatment, and obesity is a disease, and everybody can benefit from these GLP-1 medications that we've seen.
I've told this story on here before. I went in 77 pounds ago to the doctor for an ear infection, and not my current doctor, but a fill-in doctor.
You had to see a different doctor because your regular one was out.
My regular one was out. Mm-hmm. And we go and look back at the chart on the app, right? And and the only real comment about my ear infection was that I was morbidly obese.
Well, maybe if you weren't fat, you wouldn't have got an ear infection.
Well, I mean, that feeling of judgment and dismissal, it can be good for healthcare. It can't be good for who we are.
Well, when I think about back to I've had 3 children. I've gone through 3 pregnancies. And every pregnancy, I gained at least 50 pounds, if not 75 or 80 pounds. And, when I first got pregnant with my first child, it was the late 90s. And I thought, oh, I'm pregnant now and I can eat whatever I want. And it doesn't matter. And I'm eating for 2. And then I, gained 60 pounds like in just a couple of months. And my doctor's like, what's going on? And I'm like, well, I don't have to watch this anymore, do I? I mean, there was no, my doctor never said to me, no, I'm sure now my oldest is now 26. So hopefully I would think it's different now. And my youngest is just turned 18. So even when I had my 3rd child, I was more aware of really trying to watch what I ate. I just gained weight so easily and so rapidly. I got tested for gestational diabetes every pregnancy with that yucky orange drink. I don't know if they make them do it that way anymore, because I just gained weight so easily that the doctor was like, let's test you for diabetes. And I never came up with it. It's just how my body worked.
I mean, the other story that just comes to mind for me is during the pandemic. So we're in full lockdown. We had ordered groceries through, I don't know, DoorDash or Instacart or whatever it was, and they had accidentally gotten delivered across the street to our neighbors. And everybody's in a mask and everybody's just kind of flipping out. It's very early on in all of it. We had to go across the street and get our groceries, and there's 10, 20 bags of groceries sitting 7, 8 steps up on our neighbor's front porch, and our neighbors are terrified looking through the glass, like, the germs might be leaping through them. And so we go up there, and I'm, close to 300 pounds at the time, and I fall down the steps carrying the groceries.
Yeah.
And my ankle twists all the way around. Yeah, so I end up in the emergency room. My kids come over, and they have to help me hobble, and they bring the car, and it's a whole thing. Pain, excruciating pain. So I'm sitting in the emergency room in a mask, And the lady who's checked me in has put me over in the corner away from the sick people. Gee,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
And the first thing the doctor says, I don't know if I ever told you this, is,
I don't
well, you know, if you didn't weigh so much, you wouldn't have fallen down the steps.
No, he did not. You never told me that. Because I couldn't go in with him because it was COVID and I had to wait in the car. And like he could text me updates. And I think I eventually did get to. He told you if you did.
And here's the thing. It was an accident. I could have fallen down the steps weighing anyway.
Right. I mean, you had like 12 bags in your hand. Which was
might have been a
hold the
poor
railing.
decision and balance.
Next time, hold the railing as you go down the steps. But yeah.
I mean, it just points out how this can lead to untreated conditions, missed opportunities for interventions. And we could all improve our quality of life if this weren't so disheartening. I mean, it's just, it's a lot. So considering the research that shows disparities in care, what can patients with obesity do to advocate for themselves? How can they make sure they're getting the best health care possible?
Yeah, and it's really hard when you're heavy and you've been heavy for a long time. It's really hard to speak up for yourself, or at least that was my experience, especially with people who were supposed to be telling you what to do, like with a doctor. I'm certainly not going to be like, I want you to do X, Y, and Z for me. But, that's kind of what you need to do. So we'd like to encourage you to gather information, print out some articles, print out some research studies, go to your doctor with them. The doctor can look at your weight through a long period of time, or if you have a record of your weight, bring that with you. You have to ask for things, and it's really hard. I know it's really hard, but sometimes if you don't ask, you're not going to get. And some people have even changed doctors, and that's also really hard because who has time to go interviewing? I mean, people work, people are busy, people have kids. We don't have time for all of this stuff. So it's really hard to step up and be your own advocate.
Yeah, finding a provider who listens and respects you and your health care is key. I mean, we've been fortunate in finding support, but it took a few doctors, right? I mean, not all the doctors that we have had have been the most supportive people. Yeah.
My current healthcare provider, when I asked her for help about 2 years ago, she put me on phentermine. And I really didn't know what that was, but she suggested it, so I tried it, and I really didn't like it. It made me jumpy and jittery, like I'd had 10 cups of coffee, and I was just running around the house like a crazy person. So, but I was appreciative that she had even suggested something, whereas before my doctor would always be like, well, you just need to diet and exercise. So, it's...
Well, and I can tell you what I told that doctor, is I looked him in the face and said...
Oh, at the ER?
Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm not sure what that has to do with my weight, so can we address my actual ankle problem?
I would have just shrunk up into a little ball and said nothing and tried to hide in the corner. I mean, it's just, and I think being a man is definitely different than a female point of view. And maybe if I were a stronger person or a bigger advocate for myself as a heavier person, I could, like when that pharmacy tech was, when I went to pick up a weight loss medication at a smaller pharmacy back when we first started, and
you were on the phone talking to them.
And I was on the phone talking to him, and he couldn't get it, or it was, I forget what the issue was. I think they just couldn't get it in. I was just really frustrated because I'd been to several pharmacies, and I had gotten it from this place before, and he was telling me, nope, can't get it, nope, can't get it. I was like, oh, okay. And I was really defeated. And he goes, well, I can tell you something that you can do. And I said, what? Stop eating all sugar. Stop eating all processed food. I'm like, dude, come on. I was like, okay, why diet and exercise? Why didn't I think of that? Silly me trying to get this weight loss medication. And he was on speakerphone, and Christopher chimed in with some words for him. It's just my nature to shrink back from those kind of weight situations, just because I've been having them since about age 8. So it's just a very triggering thing for me.
What do you think? And I don't think things have changed immediately, and they may not change for some time, but as GLP-1s, Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, all these proliferate.
Mm-hmm.
And as there's more and more people who are experiencing them, because I think experiencing them is definitely a mind shift, whether people realize it or not, right? How do you think it'll help shift the perception of obesity? And I've now met medical people taking them themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what does it look like 5 years from now?
You know, it's hard to overcome your obesity bias. I think I have an obesity bias. You know, as someone who's struggled with weight all their lives, I can certainly recognize that in somebody else, but it doesn't stop me from thinking, they
Well,
need to lose
but so
weight.
look forward. So,
You know what
I
I
mean,
mean?
it's easy to say the 80s and the 90s were terrible, and there was cocaine chic, and there was Victoria's Secret angels, and we've all been kind of indoctrinated in that stuff, right? It's easy to say all that. But as 10 million, 20 million, 100 million people get on these medications, lose weight, the understanding that obesity is a disease becomes prevalent. Does it change? Do things change?
I mean, it might change. I think once enough people get on these medications, 10 or 15 years from now, we could be in a place where obesity is not the explosion that it is, in 2024 today. It could be something that used to be a problem back in the 2020s, and now in 2035, remember when we used to have obesity and that used to be a thing, and now we don't really have that anymore because we've solved that, and we know it's a disease, and we have so I think, yes, once it gets wiped out or starts to decrease, I think, kids won't grow up as fat kids. Adults won't remember being a fat kid because they weren't.
And our food system and our food culture changes because people aren't going to eat the same things.
Yeah, so hopefully those highly palatable, processed, sugary, fatty treats that my palate has grown to love, maybe some of those won't be around so much anymore, or maybe they'll be something that people just naturally shift away from as more and more people are on GLP-1 medications because they don't taste as good, or they don't, people would rather go outside and go for a walk than sit down and eat a whole pie.
Or you understand it's a treat and not a daily meal.
Yeah, you understand that you can have one piece of cake and not the whole cake. Speaking of birthday cake.
Or one chip and not the whole bag of chips is what I would usually do.
Yeah, that's a harder stop.
Yeah, it is a harder stop. So, I mean, I think it's a step in the right direction. I mean, these medications are certainly helping those of us who have tried them and the people around us, our friends and our family, to begin to understand that obesity is a complex condition that can be treated with medical intervention. And I say it on Facebook every day. People are like, am I permanently healed? No, this is a treatment. It is not a cure.
It's not a cure. It's a treatment. You might take a treatment for high blood pressure or high cholesterol or diabetes. They're all treatments. They're not magic pills.
I think you have to take ownership of your own health care. And it's not to say that it's easy, because it's certainly not. Doctors can be intimidating people. They're supposed to know stuff, but sometimes they don't. Yeah. So it's making sure your doctors are informed, or you have the right doctors. We still have a long way to go in changing the narrative completely. It's not going to change overnight, even though it feels like it should have. Given the biases, the disparities in treatment, how important do you think it is for us as individuals who have benefited from GLP-1s to continue sharing this?
Well, I think it's very important. And that's why we made our channel, so we could tell people about these medications. My friend Elaine, who told me about Mounjaro now over a year ago, she didn't want to tell anybody what she was doing.
She was the second interview we did.
She was the first person I ever knew of that was taking Mounjaro. Once we started our YouTube channel, I found out that there were a lot of people I knew that were taking GLP-1 medications, but they just didn't want anyone to know.
It's why I think the interview series that we do, the Downsized Dish, is just incredibly important, because putting everyday people's stories at every aspect of life, every age, every education, every economic level, it doesn't matter, out there just helps push the story forward. Tell people how they can be a part of the Downsized Dish.
If you'd like to come on our show, The Downsized Dish, and share your weight loss journey on a GLP-1 medication, send me an email to ldurham@folio28.com. We'll send you a link to our calendar, and you pick a time that works for you. And we take about 30 minutes and just talk about what you're doing and how it's going for you. And this can be anybody from someone who's thinking about starting a GLP-1, somebody who's just started, in the middle, at the end. You have questions. You know, we like to talk to all kinds of people. We've talked to retired people. We've talked to moms. We've talked to school teachers. We've talked to work from home people. I mean, all kinds of people. This medication is such a game changer for most people. You know, it's amazing.
And we started our YouTube membership with this in mind of really how can we help support you guys. So all of our content's always absolutely free, and you'll be able to see everything we're doing, including this video. But if you'd like to engage more and support the content and support what we're doing, there's opportunities for you to be a part of it. So you can click the join button. We're calling it Club Downsized now. Club Downsized. And what's your favorite part of it?
Of the membership? Well, okay, so one level of membership, I offer like a personal coaching. If you join for this monthly membership, then you get 30 minutes with me every month. We can go over anything you have questions about, just privately, you and me. It's not going to be on the channel or anything like that. Or, unless you want to. Yeah, or Christopher. You know. But yeah, we can just talk about what you're doing, any problems you have, any questions you have. If you just want to talk to somebody, because a lot of times people start this medication and they don't know anybody else, or they don't know which of their friends are on it, so they don't want to ask any questions. So I'm somebody that, you know,
it's not medical advice.
Right. We're not giving out medical advice.
We certainly love to help you in your journey and just be supportive. If you've been feeling dismissed or frustrated in your healthcare journey, know that you're not alone. It's not just in your head, and the research backs it up. Obesity bias is real, and it's affecting care. But with awareness and the right support, there are ways to advocate for the treatment you deserve.
We hope that today's discussion sheds some light on these challenges and helps you feel more empowered to take charge of your health. Remember, finding the right healthcare provider who listens and respects your concerns is key. And as always, we're here to share our journey and what we've learned along the way.
So thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to The Downsize for more content like this, and share it with anyone who might be going through the same struggles. And if you want to join us on Thursday nights at 7, we actually have a live stream where you can come in and type in, be in the chat and ask questions. And if we know the answer, we're always happy to help. Or sometimes the people in the crowd know the answer, and it's just a great conversation. You know, and as always, you can drop questions in the comments. We love hearing from you, and we'll do our best to answer.
Take care of yourselves, stay informed, stay up to date with us, and we'll see you next time on The Downsize. See you soon.
I'm Christopher Durham.
I'm Laraine Durham.
We're The Downsized. See you later.